of Denmark, and now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the European Union. On behalf of the European Union and its member states.
Thank you, Madam President. I have the honor to make this statement on behalf of the EU and 26 of the member states listed in the written version. Today we mark a tragic anniversary, 4 years of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, an egregious violation of the UN Charter by a permanent member of the UN Security Council. I want to express my deep solidarity to the Ukrainian people, who have suffered immensely as a result. Their resilience in defending their country from Russia's brutal aggression and standing up for the principles of the UN Charter is profoundly humbling and an inspiration to us all. The reason the UN General Assembly has been seized once again of the situation in Ukraine is because the Russian Federation has blocked any meaningful UNSC action. The only resolution it has allowed to pass was in February last year, which called for a swift end to the conflict, remember? And which has simply been refused by Russia in its implementation. Here are the facts. The past year, Russia has massively escalated its attacks. In 2025, it launched over 54,000 long-range drones and over 1,900 missiles against Ukraine. A 10% increase in child casualties has been reported. In the middle of a freezing winter, Russia has cynically and systematically targeted Ukraine's energy infrastructure, deliberately hurting civilians. These are not actions of a country interested in ending its war of aggression. Intentionally directing attacks against civilians and civilian objects is a war crime. Its perpetrators must be held fully accountable. Colleagues, Russia's aggression has also had far-reaching repercussions beyond Ukraine's borders. It has disrupted global food and energy markets and has affected countries in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia, thousands of kilometers away from Ukraine. Politically, the war has deepened divisions among countries and eroded trust in international institutions and norms. It has turned attention and resources away from global public efforts such as cooperation on trade, development, and climate change. We urge Russia once again to end its aggression and call on all members of the UN to ensure that Russia engages in meaningful negotiations. The short and streamlined resolution we adopted today with an overwhelming majority recalls the most fundamental principles of the UN Charter that we all adhere to and has 3 operational paragraphs calling for, first, an immediate, full and unconditional ceasefire, second, a just and lasting peace in line with the UN Charter and international law, and third, confidence-building measures between the two sides. This resolution is a clear message of support to ongoing peace efforts. It's fully in line with what the majority of UN members have called for since the start of Russia's aggression. This resolution is a message. Your vote in favor of the resolution was a vote for peace and for the UN Charter. Colleagues, the rules and principles enshrined in the UN Charter, sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the peaceful settlements of disputes, are international obligations binding all states. They are under strain in Ukraine and elsewhere. Respect for them is essential for the security of all states, large and small alike. How this war ends will further shape the future perception of these principles. If aggression is rewarded or normalized, sovereignty and territorial integrity risk becoming perceived as negotiable, weakening international stability across the globe everywhere. If Russia is allowed to change borders by force, others can try too. Why not? Colleagues, I reaffirm the EU's continued and unwavering support for Ukrainian independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders. We welcome the ongoing diplomatic efforts to put an end to the war. In coordination with our partners, we will continue to pursue an immediate ceasefire and a just and lasting peace, and provide comprehensive political, financial, economic, humanitarian, military, and diplomatic support to Ukraine and its people. And to close, I also call for the swift implementation of ESS Resolution 11-9 on the return of Ukrainian children, adopted by a clear majority in December 2025 in response to UN-verified evidence of forcible transfer and deportation of Ukrainian children. We look forward to updates on how the UN Secretary-General has exercised his good offices to facilitate the children's return and to ensure access for international monitoring and humanitarian organizations. Colleagues, this is a very sad, a very somber anniversary, marking the 4th year of Russia's aggression. But maybe there's hope after the vote on this resolution that we can all exercise our pressure, our convincing powers on Russia to stop this war and to do it now. Thank you.
I thank the head of delegation of the European Union and now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Austria.
Thank you, Madam President. 4 years ago, early in the morning, I received a call and somebody informed me that the war has started. It still shocks me today. 4 years ago, the Russian Federation shocked the world by invading its independent and sovereign neighbor, Ukraine, in blatant disregard of the most basic principles of the UN Charter. This unprovoked attack has led to human suffering not seen on the European continent for decades. Millions of lives uprooted, livelihoods destroyed, and tens of thousands of innocent civilians killed in senseless and relentless targeting of civilian infrastructure by Russia. Let me be clear, international humanitarian law is unequivocal. Civilians must never be the target of attacks. And yet, as I speak, Ukrainians have been enduring a harsh winter under merciless drone strikes and bombardments. With heating systems failing, hospitals struggling, and children sleeping in the cold. This must stop. Excellencies, Austria is a militarily neutral country, but neutrality has never meant indifference. It also does not mean moral ambiguity in the face of violations of the Charter. On the contrary, as a neutral country, Austria relies even more than others on the respect of our common norms and the strength of the UN Charter. This is why Austria consistently advocates for upholding the rule of law, not least as chair of the group of friends on the rule of law. Ukraine is not the only country that has suffered illegal attacks and violations of its sovereignty, and Austria has consistently raised its voice against violations wherever they may occur. The principles we defend in Kyiv must equally apply in Gaza, in Sudan, in Haiti, and wherever civilians are under attack and international law is violated. As the international community, we must not accept that the most basic rules are undermined and weakened while the ones violating the Charter shield themselves from scrutiny with the veto in the Security Council. Excellencies, Austria does not provide weapons to Ukraine, but solidarity takes many forms. Since February 2022, nearly 100,000 Ukrainians have found refuge in Austria. Austria has provided bilaterally, in addition to EU contributions, 350 million euros of bilateral financial and humanitarian assistance to Ukraine and its neighboring countries. This comes in addition to and not instead of our humanitarian assistance to crises all around the world, including in Africa, in the Middle East, and the Caribbean. The implications of this war, as the EU representative has said, go far beyond Ukraine. It has affected food security in many parts of this world, and nuclear risks are higher than ever. Austria commends the important engagement of the International Atomic Energy Agency headquartered in Vienna, and may I add personally with Rafael Grossi at its helm, to secure and monitor Ukraine's nuclear power plants. The agency's work has been crucial to avoid any nuclear accidents. Austria has consistently advocated for a comprehensive, just and lasting peace in Ukraine, a peace based on the UN Charter and international law. But peace negotiations are not credible while bombs fall. We therefore need an urgent ceasefire, one that is actually respected, monitored and implemented. We stand ready to support all genuine efforts towards peace, including by offering our good offices and hosting negotiations in Vienna, as we've done many times in the past. The UN and the OSCE, both headquartered in Vienna, can play an important role in the implementation of a ceasefire, in addition to their indispensable contributions in the humanitarian field and on human rights. We commend the efforts of Switzerland as the current chair of the OSCE in this regard and stand ready to support them as host country. Excellencies, Madam President, Ukraine deserves peace, stability and prosperity. Austria stands ready to do its part. I thank you.
I thank the permanent representative of Austria. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Estonia.